UN Security Council demands Houthis halt Red Sea attacks. Historic RTS link connected between Malaysia and Singapore. Assalamualaikum, Salam Malaysia Madani. You're watching World Today with me, SAHIH. The United Nations Security Council has demanded an immediate end to attacks by Yemen's Houthi on shipping in the Red Sea. The resolution passed demands that the Houthis immediately cease all such attacks which impede global commerce and undermine navigational rights and freedom, as well as regional peace and security. It was adopted after Russia, as well as China, Mozambique and Algeria abstained.
The threat to navigational rights and freedoms in the Red Sea is a global challenge that necessitates a global response. The basic principle of freedom of navigation is at stake, and the Houthis and anyone who enables them need to hear a clear message from this council. These attacks must stop.
The intensifying attacks have caused shipping companies to bypass the route and instead divert around South Africa's Cape of Good Hope, significantly adding to journey times and costs. The UN earlier said it continued to be very concerned about the situation in the Red Sea and the risk that it causes to global trade. The resolution condemns in the strongest terms the at least 24 Houthi attacks on merchant and commercial vessels since 19 November 2023. Since the Israel's war in Gaza, the Houthis have stepped up their attacks on international maritime traffic in the Red Sea. They claim to be acting in solidarity with the Palestinians in Gaza. Ecuador's President Daniel Noboa said the country was in a state of war against drug cartels who have carried out a wave of kidnappings and deadly attacks in response to government crackdown. Hundreds of soldiers patrol near deserted streets in Ecuador's capital, where residents were gripped by fear over a surge of violence that has prompted alarm abroad. The latest crisis began when one of the country's most powerful narco bosses, Jose Adolfo Macias, known by the alias Fito, escaped from prison. Noboa imposed a state of emergency and curfew, and the gangs hit back with a declaration of war, threatening to execute civilians and security forces. The country has seen prison riots, explosion and armed attacks in which at least 10 people have been killed. More than 100 prison guards and administrative staff are being held hostage. In the port city of Guayaquil, attackers wearing balaclavas and firing shots stormed a state-owned TV station on Tuesday, briefly taking several journalists and staff members hostage in dramatic scenes broadcast live before police arrived. Ecuador borders the world's two largest cocaine producers, Colombia and Peru. Guayaquil port, from where most of the drugs are shipped abroad, is seen having weaker controls. This has drawn in foreign mafia from Colombia, Mexico and Europe, allied with local gangs who fight brutal wars for control of lucrative drug routes. Meanwhile, Peruvian police strengthened its operation on its border with Ecuador in Tumbes after a wave of violence took over its neighboring country. 400 agents were deployed to the border along with another 60 officers from Peru's Special Operation National Direction. Residents from both countries welcomed the measures, saying it increased safety in the area. A Russian missile attack struck a hotel in Kharkiv, northeastern Ukraine, wounding 11 people, including journalists. The strike comes just ahead of the war's second anniversary, with both Moscow and Kiev accusing each other of inflicting dozens of civilian casualties in a sharp escalation of attacks. According to Mayor Igor Terekhov, there were no military personnel there, but there were 30 civilians, 11 of whom were wounded. One of the wounded is in very serious condition, adding that Turkey journalists were among those hurt, without providing further details. Several other buildings, including 2 apartment blocks, were also damaged in the latest strike. Head of the Kharkiv Regional Military Administration said 2 Russian S-300 missiles hit the hotel around 10:30 p.m. Located about 30 kilometers from the Russian border, Ukraine's second largest city has borne a heavy brunt of the war, seeing regular and often deadly aerial assaults. US top diplomat Anthony Blinken on Wednesday said Mahmoud Abbas was committed to reforming the Palestinian Authority to potentially reunite war-torn Gaza and the occupied West Bank under its leadership. Blinken laid out Gaza's possible future after meeting Palestinian President Abbas in Ramallah and Bahrain's King Hamad in his fourth Middle East tour, aimed at preventing the Israel-Hamas war from escalating. Official Palestinian news agency Wafa reported that Abbas raised with Blinken the need to stop the Israeli aggression against Palestinian people in Gaza and the occupied West Bank, where deadly unrest has also surged. The bloodiest ever Gaza war has killed more than 23,000 people in the besieged Palestinian territory. Blinken told Abbas that Washington supports tangible steps toward the creation of a Palestinian state. Blinken reiterated the US position that a Palestinian state must stand alongside Israel, with both living in peace and security. As Blinken arrived under tight security at Abbas headquarters in Ramallah, protesters held up signs reading "Stop the Genocide, Free Palestine" and "Blinken out." Some scuffled with Palestinian security forces in riot gear. In Bahrain, Blinken said Abbas was committed to reforming the Palestinian Authority so that it can effectively take responsibility for Gaza, so that Gaza and the West Bank can be reunited under a Palestinian leadership. Blinken is due to visit Egypt after stops in Turkey, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. Indonesia's Mount Lewatobi Laki-Laki erupted anew yesterday, spewing ash clouds 6,561 feet above its peak as authorities raised the volcano's alert status to the highest level. The eruption follows weeks of heightened volcanic activity on the mountain located on eastern Indonesia's Flores Island and prompted the local government to issue an evacuation order for nearby residents. Local authorities have established 2 temporary shelters which are currently accommodating about 5,000 people. The Volcanology and Geological Disaster Mitigation Centre (PVMBG) late Tuesday raised Lewatobi Laki-Laki's alert level to 4 after it was raised to the second highest level last week and imposed an exclusion zone of 4 to 5 kilometers around the crater. Locals are advised to be on alert for potential flooding as volcanic mudflows pour into rivers. The Southeast Asian archipelago nation sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, an area of intense volcanic and seismic activity, and has nearly 130 volcanoes. Indonesian authorities has also increased the alert status of Mount Merapi, located on the country's Sumatra island, to the second highest level and imposed a 4.5-kilometer exclusion zone from its crater. A December eruption of Merapi, which means mountain of fire, killed 23 people. Tens of millions of Americans were under the threat of menacing weather as a powerful winter storm loomed across the East Coast after leaving in its wake power outages, grounded flights and destruction. According to the National Weather Service, more than 90 million people from eastern Ohio and Kentucky and up through the mid-Atlantic and into the northeast were under high wind and flooding advisories. Major cities such as New York, Philadelphia and Boston were expected to see flood-inducing rains taper off in the morning and potentially damaging gusts of more than 80 kilometers per hour that could take down trees and power lines during the day. Some 500,000 homes and businesses from Florida north to Maine were without power early on Wednesday, power outage US reported. According to authorities and local media reports, the storm was already responsible for at least 3 deaths in Alabama, North Carolina and Georgia, where high winds and several tornadoes ripped through parts of the South. Still to come, regulators authorize first Bitcoin funds on public markets. Stay with us. Prime Minister Dato' Sri Anwar Ibrahim and his Singapore counterpart Lee Hsien Loong today witnessed a historic moment of the Rapid Transit System Link (RTS Link) project being symbolically connected between Malaysia and Singapore. It involves the completion of the span, which is the meeting point of the project's marine viaduct between Johor Bahru and Singapore. This is the first time the two leaders have met at the project site, thus strengthening the commitment of both countries on the multi-billion ringgit project. During the ceremony, Datuk Sri Anwar and Lee also signed a plaque which symbolically shows the commitment of both countries to the construction of the project. As of 31st December 2023, it had reached a progress level of 65% as scheduled. The RTS Link project is a commuter train network about 4 kilometers long with 2 stations, one each at Bukit Chaga and at Woodlands, North Singapore. With a capacity of up to 10,000 passengers per hour in each direction and a journey time of about 5 minutes between the 2 stations, the RTS line, scheduled for completion in December 2026, will provide an easy and comfortable journey between Singapore and Johor Bahru. The RTS project and the Johor-Singapore Special Economic Zone initiative currently under discussion are expected to open a new chapter in bilateral relations between the two countries. US securities regulators gave the green light to a group of Bitcoin exchange-traded funds, a keenly anticipated decision expected to boost the cryptocurrency. Regulators approved proposals for 11 ETFs to list on leading exchanges, including the New York Stock Exchange, on an accelerated basis. ETFs are traded on public markets, granting investors exposure to price movement and asset prices without taking direct ownership of the underlying assets. The funds themselves, however, do not invest in the digital currency. Initially launched in the 1990s, ETFs took off in the early 2000s by investors looking for a simple and low-cost way to take bets on side indices, commodities, or a particular industrial sector. According to consultancy Oliver Wyman, some $6.7 trillion were held globally in ETFs at the end of 2022. Until Wednesday, investors seeking to invest in Bitcoin had to open an account on a cryptocurrency exchange and transact through a traditional medium of exchange such as the dollar. Near 2250 GMT, Bitcoin prices were up 1.4% at $46,576. Elon Musk X has shed more than 1,000 staff globally from team responsible for stopping abusive content online, according to new figures released by Australia's online watchdog. Australia's E-Safety Commission said these deep cuts and the reinstatement of thousands of banned accounts had created a perfect storm for the spread of harmful content. Using Australia's groundbreaking Online Safety Act, the E-Safety Commission has obtained a detailed breakdown of software engineers, content moderators and other safety staff working at X. Commissioner Julie Inman-Grant said it was the first time these figures had been made public. They showed 1,213 specialist trust and safety staff, including contractors, had left X since it was acquired by Musk in October 2022. This included 80% of the software engineers focused on trust and safety issues. Australia has spearheaded the global push to regulate social media, forcing tech companies to outline how they are tackling issues such as hate speech and child sexual abuse. In October last year, the E-Safety Commission slapped X with an $388,000 fine, saying it had failed to show how it was cracking down on child pornography. But X ignored the deadline to pay the fine before launching ongoing legal action to have it overturned. Next in sports, 7 national reps clear first hurdle of Malaysia Open. Stay tuned. Former world junior champion Goh Jin-Wei is staying on course towards her Paris 2024 Olympics dreams after clearing the women's singles first round obstacle in the Malaysia Open yesterday. The 23-year-old independent shuttler, who is yet to gain her real form since undergoing colectomy surgery in 2019 due to a stomach ailment, beat Taiwan's Sung Shu Yun 21-18, 21-11 at the Axiata Arena. However, Jin-Wei, currently ranked 31st in the world, is set to face an uphill task in the second round tomorrow against 7-seed Grigora Mariska Tunjung of Indonesia, who ousted Natsuki Naidaira of Japan 2022, 21-18, 21-14. The 2015 and 2018 girls single world junior champion has a bright chance to qualify for Paris 2024, being ranked 28th in the Olympic qualifications. If Jin-Wei continues a good run in the home tournament, she will gain more valuable points to climb the rung, considering the Super 1000 status of the Malaysia Open. The next best Malaysians in the ranking is K. Lachana, 63, followed by S. Kisona, 85, and Wong Ling Ching, 93. Meanwhile, mixed doubles pair Chan Peng Soon, Chia Yi Si were the last national representatives to move into the last 16 after fighting back from 8-game down to beat Taiwan's Chang Kong Chi, Lee Chi Chen 11-21, 26-24, 21-8 in a 63-minute Titanic tussle last night. The professional shuttlers can expect a tough time from 5th seed Jiang Zhengbang Wei Zha Yin, who defeated their China compatriots Cheng Xingzhang Chi 21-18, 21-16. Earlier, top national men's double pair Aaron Chia So Woo Yik also had to stage a comeback to seal their place in the second round, defeating Denmark's Rasmus Kjær Frederik Sogard 20-22, 21-13, 21-13. The 2022 world champions will take on compatriots Goh Zifei Nur Izzuddin Rumsani, who had disposed of Thai Supak Jomko Kidnapong Kedren 21-17, 22-20 in their opening round clash for a place in the quarterfinals. Malaysia will have another pair in the second round of the mixed doubles after Chen Tanji, Toh Iwei disposed of French pair Tom Sisquel Delphine Dalru 21-17, 21-18 to set up a date with Japan's Hiroki Midorikawa Natsuo Saito. In tennis, Australia's Alex de Minaur beat world number 2 Carlos Alcaraz 6-4, 5-7, 10-3 in a charity match in Melbourne yesterday, as both players added to their preparations ahead of the Australian Open this month. Over in Adelaide, all 4 of the Adelaide International top seeds moved into the quarterfinals of the tournament yesterday. World number 14 and top seed Tommy Paul comfortably took care of business against Australian Alex Ball, reeling off 25 winners as he sped to a 6-3, 6-2 victory. Second seed Nicolas Jarry had to dig deep to beat Matteo Arnaldi, needing nearly 3.5 hours to prevail against the Italian 6-7, 7-6, 6-4. 2023 finalist Sebastian Korda kept up his hopes of going one better this year, saving 5 set points in the second set to escape with a 6-4, 7-6 victory against Lorenzo Sonego. Fourth seed Lorenzo Musetti also booked his spot in the next round with a 6-4, 6-1 win against Australian Jordan Thompson. In the women's draw, world number 5 Jessica Pegula battled back from a set down to overcome lucky loser Bernarda Pera 4-6, 6-2, 6-3 and reached the quarterfinals of the Adelaide International. The second seed needed 2 hours and 12 minutes to prevail in the All-American clash ahead of her campaign at the Australian Open, which begins on Sunday. Pegula looked ill at ease against Pera's powerful left-handed game in the opening set and converted only 1 of her 10 break-point chances. But she found her feet in the second set to draw level, and after nosing ahead by a break at 4-3 in the third, she then saved 5 break points for a crucial hole. Her 6th break in the next game vanquished Pera, setting up a quarter-final against Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova. Meanwhile, Ostapenko had an injury scare before overpowering Caroline Garcia 6-4, 5-7, 6-4 to reach the quarterfinals. Leading 5-4 in the opening set of what turned out to be a hitting contest, Ostapenko took a medical timeout after complaining of sharp pain in her left thigh. She returned to secure the set, but Garcia forced the decider with her spirited comeback in the second. Ostapenko played with a strapped tie, broke her opponent in the opening game of the third set and made her 4th match point count to prevail in 2 hours and 41 minutes. Daria Katsakina is also through the quarterfinals after beating Anna Kalinskaya 5-7, 6-4, 7-5 in an all-Russian clash. Qatar will host the delayed 2023 Asian Cup over the next 4 weeks, with fans hoping the atmosphere of the World Cup will be replicated in the Gulf state. The 24-team tournament, which should have been held last year but was moved to January and February by organisers, the AFC, will see Japan, Australia and South Korea start among the favourites. But there will be plenty of interest in Saudi Arabia, who beat eventual champions Argentina at the 2022 World Cup and will play host to the next edition of the Asian Cup in 2027 as well as the 2034 World Cup. Souk Waqif saw many fan celebrations during the World Cup, and while it was not as lively on Wednesday, locals promised that the atmosphere would build ahead of tomorrow's opening match between Qatar and Lebanon.
I missed the World Cup and I missed the atmosphere that we will see mixed with many countries and many traditions. Celebrities here around Souk Waqif. Yeah, hopefully. And we can see it now. Many people from Saudi and from Gulf State are gathering here again, and we will expect also people from Asia.
Meanwhile, female referees will officiate at the Asian Cup in Qatar for the first time following breakthroughs at other major events. Among the roster for the latest edition of the tournament are Australia's Kate Uchesawik and Japan's Yoshimi Yamashita, who was involved during the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. And all 5 female officials will take part in the Asian Cup.
I'm very honored to be here. I have a responsibility to show what the female referee can do in this tournament. So I have to do my best. I have to do our best. And I hope this opportunity connects to the next generation.
Well, it's certainly bridging the gap, and, you know, I guess the girls that went, or the women that went to the Men's World Cup really opened the door for everyone, so they're well and truly wide open now for those who are, you know, capable and can perform, can officiate at any level. So it's really nice to see.
All officials were put through their paces during a training session at the Qatar Sports Club on Wednesday, ahead of the tournament opening match on Friday between Qatar and Lebanon. That will be officiated by Iran's Alireza Fagani. Asian Cup organisers in Qatar said yesterday that there would be no special security measures for games involving Palestine or Iran at the tournament. The World Cup in 2022 saw political protests at games involving Iran, with some fans demonstrating against the Iranian government. Palestine, who will play in the Asian Cup against a backdrop and an ongoing conflict in Gaza, faced Iran on Sunday in one of the opening matches of the tournament. However, a spokesman for the tournament security said all matches were being treated in the same way. Meanwhile, Hassan Rabia Al-Kuwari, Executive Director of Marketing and Communications for the local organising committee, said ticket sales were strong, with Qatar benefiting from positive experiences spectators had at the World Cup 12 months ago. The Asian Cup begins on Friday when the hosts take on Lebanon at the Lusail Stadium, the venue for the World Cup final. In motorsports, defending champion Nasir Al-Attiyah ignored strategic slowdowns and won the 5th stage of the Dakar Rally in Saudi Arabia on Wednesday to go on 2nd overall behind home favourite Yazid Al-Raji. The stage victory was the first this year for 5 times Dakar winner Al-Attiyah, whose Pro Dive Hunter finished 1 minute and 51 seconds ahead of French Toyota driver Ghislaine Chicherit. Al-Raji was 4th fastest over the sand dunes on the 118km stage from Al Hufuf to Shubataya that saw several top contenders ease off to gain a later start with tracks to follow. The Saudi retained the overall lead 9 minutes and 3 seconds clear of Al-Attiyah, with Audi's Carlos Sainz dropping to 3rd. In the motorcycle category, Botswana's Ross Branch returned to the top in a stage won by Chilean Pablo Quintanilla on a Honda. Branch leads Chile's Jose Ignacio Cornejo by 1 minute and 14 seconds, with American Ricky Brabec 3rd.
Kejohanan bola sepak Piala Asia Qatar 2023. Kesebelasan terbaik Harimau Melaya kini bersedia untuk memburu tahta berprestij di Asia. Selasa 16 Januari, Malaysia bertemu Jordan 1 pagi di saluran OK dan saluran sukan RTM. Saksikan juga secara penstrima langsung di RTM Click bersama RTM, official media partner.
Kita perkenalkan sistem padu pangkalan data utama. Pertama, ia selaras dengan pendekatan dan dasar transformasi digital. Kedua, menjamin supaya manfaat dan kemudahan itu dinikmati oleh orang yang berhak menerimanya. Dan tentunya dengan cara yang sedemikian, mengurangkan kos, mengurangkan ketirisan. Dan kaedah diperkenalkan melalui padu ini ialah secara tidak langsung memaksa setiap warga negara faham tentang transformasi digital dan menggunakan sistem padu. Dengan sendirinya kita ada pencerahan kecelekan budaya dan kecelekan digital.
That ends our bulletin today. Wrapping up with a recap of our top story, UN Security Council demands Houthis halt Red Sea attacks. Tune in to Malaysia Tonight, coming up at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and saluran Berita RTM. From river to the sea, Palestine will be free. I'm SAHIH Malaysia Madani, tekad perpaduan penuh harapan. Thank you for watching.